Hi Judgers! Welcome to another segment of 1R Liwag Memorial High School Senior High School Math TV. And for today's video lesson, we will discuss about the middle term in the expansion of the binomial. For example, that binomial is a plus b raised to n. So how do we solve now for the middle terms of different binomial expansion? So there will be two cases. We have case 1 and case 2. For case 1, if n is even, again, if n is even, there will be one middle term. Again, if n is even, there is only one middle term. And the position of that term, this is the position of that term, that is n over 2 plus 1. So that is the term position. So what if I have n is equal to 6? If n is equal to 6, we know that 6 is an even number. Therefore, let us now try to substitute 6 in this formula so that we could get, or we would know, if 6 is what term position. So this becomes 6 over 2 plus 1. Therefore, that is 3 plus 1. Okay, therefore 3 plus 1 is 4. We are getting the fourth term. Okay, if n is equal to 6, therefore this becomes I is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And based on this values of I, because if n is equal to 6, we have 7 terms. Basing from these values of I, we could say that the fourth term is I is equal to 3. Okay, so that is how we solve for the middle term if the exponent of the expansion is even. Again, if n is even, so we will only be having one middle term. Okay, and the formula for the term position is n over 2 plus 1. And just substitute the values of n for the formula so that you will know the position of the middle term. Okay, for case number 2, if n is odd, therefore we will be having two middle terms. And the term position now is n plus 1 over 2 and n plus 1 over 2 plus 1. Okay, for example, if n is equal to 5, if n is equal to 5, therefore the values of I would be from 0 to 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. So let's write down here 3, 3, 4, 5. So based on this one, we have 6 terms. If we have 6 terms, therefore we could not say that we will only be having one middle term. Therefore, for this one, these are the values of I for the middle term. And let us now try to get its position. So that is n plus 1 over 2. N is 5 plus 1, 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Therefore, that is the third term. Okay, and the third term here now is 2. And how about for n plus 1 over 2 plus 1? N plus 1 over 2 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. Therefore, the next one is the fourth term. So, this is the fourth term. Okay, so that is how we identify the term position, or how many middle terms if we are given a binomial expansion. So, let's now have an example. Find the middle term in the expansion of x over 2 plus 3y raised to 6. So, in this case, if that is the problem, so we would know that n is equal to 6 and 6 is an even number. If 6 is an even number, therefore we could say that there is only one middle term. Okay? And what is the value of I now? So, let us now try to solve for the position of the middle term. And for the position of the middle term, let us now use this formula. Therefore, that is n over 2 plus 1. And that becomes 6 over 2. 6 over 2 is 3. 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. Therefore, the middle term is the fourth term. And if the middle term is the fourth term, we could say that I is equal to 3. Again, if the middle term is the fourth term, we could say that I is equal to 3. Okay, therefore, we will now be having A is equal to x over 2. B is equal to 3y. Using the formula ni raised to A times A raised to n minus I, B raised to I, we will now be having n is 6 I is 3 times A, which is x over 2 raised to n minus I, 6 minus 3. RB is 3y raised to 3. And this becomes now 6 combination of 3. That becomes 20. X over 2 raised to 6 minus 3 is just 3. 3 cubed is 27. And then multiply that to y cubed. Okay, 20 times 27. So we will be having 540. So this becomes 540. X cubed over 2 raised to 3 is 8. So that is 2 cubed times y cubed. Therefore, this becomes 540 over 8 x cubed y cubed. And what is 540 divided by 8 in lowest term? We'll now be getting 135 over 2 x cubed y cubed. And this will now be the middle term of the expansion, x over 2 plus 3y raised to 6. Again, we will be having only one middle term because n is an even number. And if n is an even number, therefore we could say that there is only one middle term. Okay, so let's now have another example. So let us now try to find the middle term in the expansion of x squared plus y raised to 4 quantity raised to 9. Okay, so we could say now that n is equal to 9 and that is an odd number. And for an odd number, in order for us to get the middle term, the formula is n plus 1 over 2. And the other middle term is n plus 1 over 2 plus 1. Okay, so this is the term possession. So we could say that there will be two middle terms. Again, there will be two middle terms. And the term possession would be 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the fifth term, and n plus 1 is 10 over 2 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. And the sixth term, if we are dealing with the fifth term and the sixth term as the middle terms, we could use I is equal to 4 and I is equal to 5. Okay, for the first middle term, so let us first write A is equal to x squared and B is equal to y raised to 4. So let us now try to write ni times A raised to n minus I, B raised to I. Ni for the first middle term, therefore we'll be using I is equal to 4. That is 9 combination 4A, which is x squared. And then raise that to n minus I. Okay, n minus I, that is 9 minus 4. B raised to I, which is y raised to 4 raised to 4. Okay, 9 combination 4 will give us an answer of 126. X squared raised to 9 minus 4 is 5. Y raised to 4 is y raised to 16. Therefore, we'll now be having the middle term, the first middle term as 126 times x raised to 10, y raised to 16. This is the first middle term. And for the second middle term, we could say that this becomes ni times a raised to n minus I, b raised to I, where I now is equal to 5. And this becomes 9 combination 5. And then RA is x squared raised to n minus I, which is 9 minus 5. RB is y raised to 4 raised to 5. 9 combination 5 is also 126. Why 126? Because the Pascal triangle is symmetrical. Therefore, always remember that if we are getting the middle term and there will be two middle terms, their coefficients for the combination would be the same. If this is 126, this will always be 126 because it is in the middle term, and in the middle term of the triangle, Pascal triangle, the numbers are the same. Okay, so this becomes x squared raised to 9 minus 5 is 4. Y raised to 4 raised to 5 is y raised to 20. And we'll now be having 126 x raised to 8 y raised to 20. And this is the other middle term. Therefore, the middle terms in the expansion of x squared plus y raised to 4 quantity raised to 9 is 126x raised to 10, y raised to 16, and 126x raised to 8, y raised to 20. So that is how we solve for a middle term, of the expansion if n is odd. Again, if n is odd, there will be two middle terms. So let us now try to solve for another problem. So for another problem, find the middle term in the expansion of x over 2 plus 3y. Okay, so in this case, so is this the same as the first example? Okay, this is the same as the first example. So let us use another example. So let us now try to find the middle term of the expansion. Okay, 1 minus x squared. Okay, so let us have 1 minus x squared over 2 raised to 14. Okay, so this is 1 minus x squared over 2 raised to 14, where n is equal to 14. So we could say that this is even. And if n is even, there will be one middle term. Again, there will be one middle term. And what is the term position? If we'll be having one middle term, that is 14 over 2. So that is n over 2 plus 1. And that becomes 14 over 2 plus 1. So that is 7 plus 1. We'll be getting the 8th term. So if we will be having the 8th term, again, if we'll be having the 8th term, therefore I should be, yes, I should be 7. Okay, so if I is equal to 7, we could say that A is equal to 1, B is equal to negative x squared over 2. And in this case, we'll now be using the formula ni times a raised to n minus I, b raised to I, where n is equal to 14, where I is equal to 7. Therefore, that is 14 combination 7, where a is 1. Raise that to 14 minus 7. And rb is negative x squared over 2 raised to 7. Okay, so what is 14 combination 7? So for 14 combination 7, that will give us an answer of 3,432. And then multiply that to 1 raised to 14 minus 7 is just 7. And this becomes negative x squared over 2. Since this is an odd number, 7, therefore even though this is negative, still it becomes negative. And let's bring out the negative sign. And it becomes now times negative x squared raised to 7 over 2 raised to 7. Okay? So let us try to simplify. 1 raised to 7 is just 1. 1 raised to 7 is just 1. 3,432 times negative is negative 3,432. Multiply this to x squared raised to 7 is x raised to 14 over 2 raised to 7 is 128. Simplifying, we'll now be having negative 3,432 over 128 x raised to 14. And simplifying negative 3,432 over 128, in lowest term, it becomes negative 429 over 16 x raised to 14. And this will now be the middle term in the expansion of 1 minus x squared over 2 quantity raised to 14. So that is how we solve for middle terms of different binomial expansion, whether n is equal to an odd number or n is equal to an even number. So if you have questions, comments, clarifications regarding this video lesson, do not forget to message me on my Facebook account, on my Twitter, and on my Instagram account. Once again, I am Engineer Judd Hernandez, saying that mathematics is always fun. Goodbye and God bless.